Alrighty, good morning. Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, the first part on the agenda is
the report on financials. This was, what does that take? This was a supplemental de-appropriation I needed to approve last week for JFS Workforce Investment Fund for year-end compliance. It was $5. $5.
They had the de-appropriation.
I move the approval. You don't have to do anything else. This is like an FYI.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So now, Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of December 23rd, 2014.
Yes.
I moved it, yeah. I moved it, can I?
I guess you could move. You just
Yeah, I'm just going to abstain. So
Yeah.
I moved that we approve those.
second.
Commissioner Claypool?
I abstain.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaler?
Aye, motion approved. And number 3 is Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approving the encumbrances to be considered by the Board of Commissioners at their first meeting in January of 2015 to be effective January 1st of 2015.
Move on that.
I move we approve the encumbrances.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaler?
Aye, motion approved. And then we've got Department of Aging. Oh, so I'm sorry, the financials. Sorry, Heidi.
That's okay. Yeah, these are actually the financials that we're approving to be dated January 1st. We have also a revenue certification for the Sheriff's Office Law Enforcement Block Grant, supplemental appropriation for the auditor's refund for unemployment expenses, and the engineer's municipal road tax and Sheriff's Law Enforcement Block Grant funds to appropriate the carryover balances. And then, as we said, we have all the contracts, purchase orders, and travel requests for various departments for the new year.
We have a motion for that.
I move we approve them.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaler?
Aye, motion approved. Thank you. And Jessica, good morning. So you've got paid for Page Food Services.
Right, to release their bid bond and accept their performance bond. It started on Monday, and so far, so good with the new food vendor, so.
Okay.
Tuesday.
Day number 2.
Alrighty, if we could do a read on number 5.
The Department on Aging is requesting the Board accept the performance bond from Page Food Services Incorporated for the Daily Nutrition Program for the preparation and delivery of meals for the period January 1st, 2015 through January 31st, 2016, and further release the bid bond.
Make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaler?
Aye, motion approved.
Great. And we did have an open position for a full-time driver because our driver went to one of our in-house positions. So Frank Pertz, he's actually been working for Geauga Transit for some time, and he expressed an interest, and after interviewing him, he's the most qualified for the job. I did speak with Mike Casper about that, just so we're on the same page, and he knew that his employee was interested in coming forward to my department. So we settled a date that wouldn't hurt his operations, and it wouldn't have any issue with the appointments we need to schedule with our clients. So we'd like to offer him the position.
Okay. Any questions? We're good? Okay. If we could read number 6.
The Department on Aging is requesting the Board approve hiring Frank Pertz to the position of full-time transportation driver number 1020 to be effective January 19th, 2015 at a rate of $12.64 per hour. After the successful completion of a 180-day probationary period, the rate will increase to $13.30 per hour.
Move it.
Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spitaler?
Aye, motion approved. All right, thank you, Jessica. Have a good day.
Stay warm.
Stay warm, yeah.
It's a frosty one out there.
Today, 1, 10, 10, 12, 13, and 10, 20. But
You guys are too fast.
5 minutes, so if you want to...
Let's see, we can try to move on to some of the other,
Sure.
if we want to go to number 10 then. How are you?
Good. Skip.
Thank you.
So we'll do the performance bond for posting, I guess, first, Joe. Is that what you'd like to do, or?
Yeah, the 10 through 16, I assume we didn't change.
Okay.
No changes.
10 through 16 are releasing the performance bonds for our projects that have been completed to date, and the commissioners have signed the final change order and so forth on all these. So just releasing their bond, and we're happy with the jobs, and we've had final walkthroughs.
Okay. Any questions, or we'll read 10 through 16?
Fine with me. No questions.
Okay. We could do a read on that.
How's your back, Rachel?
The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Coasting Construction Company for the asphalt resurfacing of Bainbridge Road, CH11, Sections A through G in Auburn and Bainbridge Townships, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Rhinebeck Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Pettibone Road, CH607, Sections A through D in Bainbridge Township, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Burton Scott Contractors, LLC for the improvement of culverts on Ravenna Road, structure number 601-0.20 and 601-2.28 in Chardon Township, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Rhinebeck Paving Incorporated for the improvement of Wooden Road, CH25, Sections A through D in Chardon and Hamden Townships, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Cargo Paving Company for the asphalt resurfacing of Mumford Road, CH24, Sections E through H in Troy Township, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Ogilvy Construction for the application of polyester pavement markings for various roads for the year 2014, as all specifications have been met. The County Engineer's Office is requesting the Board release the bid performance bond for Chagrin Valley Paving for the asphalt resurfacing of Jug Street, CH46, Sections C through E in Troy Township, as all specifications have been met.
And if we have a motion,
I move. I second those motion.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
aye, motion approved. In just a couple more minutes here, the number 17, if you want to read that.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the agreement between the Geauga County Board of Commissioners and Chardon Tomorrow to allow Chardon Tomorrow to use the county parking lot located at 100 Shortport Street and lawn surrounding the courthouse for the purpose of parking cars, holding dog sled demonstrations, and ice sculpting displays during the Winterfest event on January 17, 2015 from 10 o'clock a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved. And then for number 18, do you want to explain that, Dave?
Well, this is the Ohio Public Works District 7, and the term that former Commissioner Sweeney was in doesn't end until July 20th. So the recommendation was to appoint Commissioner Claypool just to fill out that term.
Okay.
With Shane.
With Shane as his alternate.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
And as an added to that, Shane is the liaison for Ohio Public Works District 7, so must be on that.
Okay. Okay.
Brings a lot of money into the county.
Sharon, if you have some time, I'd like to talk to you about that. Get a chance.
Yeah.
So move. Second.
Let's do a read on it first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board appoint Walter M. Claypool, Shane Hajar as alternate as Ohio Public Works Commission OPWC District 7 County Representative to fill the remainder of the term vacated by Mayor E. Samiti ending July 20th, 2015.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved. We've got 10:10 on the button right now, so the Commissioners will hold a public hearing at 10:10 to review the plans and specifications for the asphalt resurfacing of Old State Road, CH6 in Parkman and Middlefield Township. If I have a motion to waive the reading.
I move. Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved. So if we can begin with this hearing.
Just
See what-
quick overview.
Yeah, on Old State 6, County Highway 6, we're going to mill the surface of the road off and resurface from Nash Road to 528. Part of a federal aid project that was submitted to NOACA in 2012, I believe. And that's scheduled to start on or about April 1st.
So Nash to 528, so right at the corner there where 608 and 528 meet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it becomes county.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's the length of what's in our county, correct?
Well, no, we still have a short section south of 88 Ash Road
Right.
to the county line, but that's been paved on a different rotation, so that's a few years out.
Okay.
And I don't believe that section can qualify for federal funds anyhow, that short section.
And that work
I'd
would
have to
start
look.
when?
Spring.
And the term of the pavement work will be how long?
Probably about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 with the milling and weather, but traffic will be maintained.
Okay.
It won't be close
Yes.
to that.
Okay.
There is a current project going on right now that's suspended for the winter. Put in some dry pipes and extended some culverts and stuff. So as soon as the weather's good in the spring, they'll hop back out and finish up with some ditching real quick.
Okay.
So the road is intermittently closed for that, but not for this particular project.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the attendants here? Okay. At 10:12, I would request that the public hearing be closed. So that will take care of number 7. On number 8, we'll have the commissions will hold a public hearing to review the plans and specifications for the asphalt resurfacing of Chagrin Road CH9 in Bainbridge Township. I have a motion to waive the reading.
So moved. Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved, and we can begin this hearing.
The paving project of Chagrin Road will start at Capstan and stop just short of 306. Recently, the state did a major interchange upgrade and improvement at 422 and 306, and they paved about 900 feet up Bainbridge Road. So our project will stop where theirs ended, but that road surface is really deteriorated over the last several years, and that road is on the federal highway system, so we'll be doing a very similar project. We'll mill off the existing surface and put new asphalt on there. Traffic will be maintained. There's no other scope of work other than resurfacing for that project.
Shane, let me ask you a question. Speaking of Bainbridge Road, this isn't relevant to the paving, but it's a question that's come up a couple times for people. Where the intersection of Bainbridge Road and East Washington, where that corner is there, what is the plan like in the future as population continues to grow, traffic continues to get stronger?
Bainbridge in Washington or Bainbridge 306?
Bainbridge in Washington. You know where the pond is, the ice skating
Triangle you're talking about?
Triangle.
Okay.
Just to the side of that.
Yeah, we actually did a study. You're talking at the acute angle there.
Yeah.
Comes in. We did a study on that. Surprisingly enough, everybody perceives there being an incident pulling off of Bainbridge onto Washington Street. Mm-hmm. The accident history would show that what's happening is the only accidents that are really happening down there are cars are mostly heading westbound, and when they stop to turn onto Bainbridge, they'll, if you perceive it, you watch people want to make that without stopping, and you most often can. Well, at the last minute, they're deciding I can't make that gap, so they stop and they get slammed in from behind. So you're having a lot of rear ends up there. But as far as the turning movement off of Bainbridge, we have no accident history, which is surprising because you perceive, look back across, but people are being careful because they don't have that level of comfort.
Okay.
It surprised me when we pulled the accidents on there to get that.
Okay.
And we have had people complain, you don't maintain that gravel section. The only reason that we plow that back is so that people can see across that corner. They are not allowed to pull through there. That it's against the law. If the police see them, they should cite them for it because that's what makes it dangerous. And we looked at one point maybe paving it and putting a turn lane in there. But we've looked at the accidents, and it would actually make it quite a bit worse there.
Okay.
And for the traffic volume out there, the accident rate's low, very low, below the national average.
Did you see, I think it was a group of Kenston students that a study
Yeah,
recommended there be stops for heading east. And then it'd be a no stop coming heading west.
When we spent time with them, it's interesting because every year I spend time with one of those groups. They have a solution, a problem-based solution and everything that they work on. It's a neat program they do. But unfortunately, every year the group does the same thing. They jump out and they find a solution to a problem that they never defined the problem. And in this case, we had already done all this work and we handed it to them. They're like, oh, well, now we can't use our solution.
Never mind.
Yeah, because what happens is what you'll find at a multi-way stop is rear-end accidents increase. Whether you put a traffic signal or more stop signs, you have more. And that's already the type of accident we have there. So what they're doing, and that even skips the relevancy of you can't create a multi-way stop for no particular reason. And in that case, you can't stop the major road for the minor road. So there was a lot of reasons you couldn't legally do it. And in fact, the traffic pattern would show from the accident history what they wanted to do would make it much worse. So, a lot of times when you're dealing with traffic accidents, if someone sees an accident, they perceive that as a dangerous intersection. It's well, Ralph, you've probably scraped people off the pavement.
Right.
It's an emotional thing. I've seen dead bodies on the road. It sticks with you forever.
Yeah, and that's why I said, maybe we don't have an issue now, but I just was curious as we were on Bainbridge Road, as population continues to grow, traffic continues to grow, it's what, if there's if that's, flashing lights and whistles blowing type of location, so.
And the progression of it tends to be as it grows closer to warranting a signal, those are very similar warrants for a flashing light and so forth. But right now, the accident rate is, if I remember off the top of my head, it's just below one accident per million vehicles entering that intersection.
Pretty good.
That's great.
Benefit.
So why, you change it, you're most likely going to increase.
Yep.
The majority of those accidents, if I can use the word minor, as opposed to where there's a fatality or...
Trying to remember, I don't recall any fatalities. They're fairly high speeds. There tends to be squads on the scene and people transported, but unless it results in a fatality, I don't know the severity of the injuries. I don't have that information.
And a good rear ender at 25 or 30 miles an hour is going to give you a neck stinger.
Yeah. I mean, where do you draw the line? Is the severity of the accident other than is it a fatality or it isn't?
But is it
Exactly, and that's how the
operator error,
ones will come through.
or is it engineering issues?
Oftentimes on that, and I'm sure you guys have done. I do it. I'll look around the corner, and if I can just keep going, it's legal. You do it.
Yeah.
But what happens is people start pushing it, and then they're like, "Oh no, I better not!" And they hit their brakes, and the guy behind them just slams into them. And that is by far the accident you see out there.
Okay.
It really is. And it also happens a little bit eastbound too, where some of the people like to cut across that gravel, and then they're doing the same thing. They're going to make this move without stopping to make this big crazy right turn, and then someone pulls up in that intersection, so they stop out on Washington Street unexpectedly, and someone rear-ends them. But definitely primarily these are rear-end accidents on Washington Street. It's not someone on Bainbridge pulling out into somebody.
Okay. All right. So if there's no other questions for the board on the hearing issue, any from the public? Okay, so if we close this at 10:19.
Move to approve.
Okay, we'll move to number 9. The commissioners will hold a public hearing at 10:20 to review the plans and specifications for the asphalt resurfacing of Ravenna Road, CH 601 in Chardon Township, and a motion to waive the reading.
Motion to waive. Second.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye, motion approved, and we'll begin the meeting at 10:20.
Ravenna Road, as the board is most likely aware, we've been doing some preparatory work, getting our drainage and shoulder work prepped and ready, and we're going to put in a asphalt widening trench from the city limit to about the midpoint of the entire road length. It's to improve safety by adding shoulder width. At some point, somebody asked if it's for a bike path. It is not, but it will provide safer non-motorized vehicle traffic in that area where it's above average due to the proximity to the bike path and the city itself.
And the parks and the schools, and there is some subdivisions.
City limits about halfway to the county line. Is that
Yeah,
what-
roughly. Yeah, if you get into
Or is it by Hosford where that big gully is?
past Hosford,
Past Hosford.
So you gotta
past
fill in
Hosford,
along
heading
that.
north.
Right.
Yeah. We did some work. We
I know
actually,
you had some stuff
Okay.
going on there, but
Yeah, right.
that's a pretty good size.
But we have all the shelf out there now to accommodate it. This job actually truly is just a milling machine running down the side of the road, milling out a slot, and then an asphalt widener coming in, filling it in, and then 2-course overlay of asphalt on the entire
You gotta
road.
move all the guardrail back.
No, it's all moved. We did it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this will be road traffic maintained. It'll be a 30-day duration maximum. We'll tie right into the city line and the county line, and it'll be new asphalt from end to end.
Okay.
But wide enough for the bicycles to ride on.
You can ride on it
will
now.
improve the
I wouldn't ride my bike on it.
I can ride on it now if they want.
it will improve the
Not
safety
that-
of the bicycles.
Hills
But
and
meanwhile, they're pushing the bike path all the way through to the city, coming off of where it ended before the trooper station.
yeah,
Yeah, but they
we're
still
hoping
don't
to get
have
some
a-
bikes off our road because there are quite a few.
They
in that
still don't
section.
have a connection point between that.
In the southern
But, well, or no, even going north where you hit,
right.
Where does it terminate? It terminates at...
Oh, the golf course there in Lake County.
Yeah, it
There was
terminates
some
at
section.
Ravenna Road in Geauga County, then it picks back up in Lake, going back up the railroad right away, and in between where the golf course and the subdivision is, that's
Right.
probably never going to be. Not that I...
Some didn't think it would ever go through the city, and it's to the city now. So, and there's plans for it to go through. So we'll see.
You probably don't want to talk about that too much.
Yeah,
Having flashbacks by now.
That was last year's conversation.
Right.
That was last January's conversation. We don't need it again. On that, by Hosford, where that lake, it looks like that dam finally failed completely.
Well, yeah, it does appear that way. It hasn't failed completely. The structure had an overflow structure to it,
Okay.
and it does have a secondary overflow structure to the south.
Okay.
So the overflow structure failed, but there's actually a drop structure in there, so the water's dropping into that structure, not letting the way it was always designed. But there's so much silt in that pond.
Yeah, that's what I did.
It's not going to. If that thing breached right now, it wouldn't compromise my fault.
It would ooze out, I think,
we
over there.
have approached that homeowner to try to work with them because I do have a little concern that if we really did have another 200-year storm or something, maybe some of that debris would
Concrete
roll
would come
down
down
and
into our
block my
culvert.
culvert. And we offered to remove that stuff and do a little work right there just to remedy that potential. And he was somewhat agreeable, but when we made it clear that we needed something signed to give us the right to go out of the right of way, he wasn't willing to do that. So just not able to work with it. We spent several hours trying to do that. I don't have a major concern. We keep an eye on it. I drive it every day. So if that stuff starts rolling down, it gets close to the right of way, we're going in. So.
Eventually it'll come into the right of way. Then you just have to reach over with a grapple and pull it out.
Right. So, but yeah, there's really not much water being retained anymore. It's a shame. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I looked at it when
I would.
I thought the same thing. I thought there's probably 6 inches of water in here, and the rest of it is just muck.
Yep.
Yep. The ducks are walking around out there.
Okay. So if there's no further questions from the board, any questions from the public? No. So we will move to close the meeting at 10:25. And with that, we have completed all other items on the agenda. Is there anything else, Joe, that...
I would like to bring up to the board, and I've spoken with you at length once or twice about potential of us building a salt storage building and the cost savings that can happen with the county. I do skip too. I haven't really talked to Blake about it.
Not recently.
Right. Long ago. Just in general conversation. But one of the things, if we could increase our storage, first of all, we have two structures right now, a barn and a dome that are connected. The dome's at the end of its serviceable life. It's about done. We currently can hold about 4,000 tons of material. We use about 10,000 tons. So what that forces us to do is to get deliveries in the wintertime where it's more expensive, which is what most people do because you can't store that much material. Currently this year, the summer fill-up price was $37 a ton. The winter fill-up price was $55 a ton. So there's an $18 a ton differential. Had we had the storage, just this year alone, at 10,000 times 18, that's $180,000. We would have saved just between buying at those two different times. And the differential was much greater last year, too. And then what happened is the years going on, we have townships now that at times we supply material to townships at cost. Without having the storage, we can only, it's very minimal. So there's some townships right now that are buying it at market price at $125 a ton, to which our 55 sounds real good. Lake County, Portage County, they're all over $100 a ton right now. So we did very good on our contract, but we could do better. The building that we're looking to put up, I guess it be very clear, I'm hoping for some help from the commissioners here to make this happen because I don't have the capital to outlay. Is 220 feet by 85 feet, which would hold about 12,000 tons of material. So it would put us in a situation much better than we had last year, where everybody was out of salt because one of the issues last year was there's just not enough capacity to store. So when you get a bad winter and then you just can't get the roads in the wintertime, and the roads are bad and it's hard to haul, more expensive to haul. Everybody saw the news last year and saw what was going on. That kind of prevents that from happening by having some more storage. And it is definitely inevitable with our dome. Right now, we had a quote of about $80,000 to temporary repair it to get a few more years out of it. And it's the whole new structure that holds 12,000. Cost $550, so I just don't see throwing $80,000 into a structure that's at the end of its life, and we continue to keep dumping resources into it. And it's very inefficient. In fact, Commissioner Claypool, you expressed the desire to come down and walk through our facilities and do that afterwards.
I did that last year, and I wouldn't go in that dome again without a hard hat.
I was going to say, do you have a hard hat?
No, I walked
Am I
in
putting my life at risk?
Well, no. Me and Shayla wearing hard hats in the hallway.
It's okay if you don't look up. If you just look down and you walk in.
It was a sad moment. Claypool walked into that dome and he collapsed.
Yeah,
It took us 12 hours to dig him out, but here he is.
When we talked about this last year, when you brought it last year, at that time it was around $450,000, and you were, we had just completed helping on your current project, and then that came in over budget, and then more money was allocated for that. However, under that agreement, you're paying back 77 point something.
Right, 78%. Right.
Yeah, it's not quite 78, but it's between 77 and 78. There's some decimal
I think
in there.
it's a 15-year term issue.
And it's a 15-year deal for and even that's not the full.
No, it's adjusted.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you're
up.
right. It's adjusted.
The
Originally it was
MOU showed,
900 and
proportionally, if
it was 700 and 200 to make 900.
Yeah, but it
but
goes
then
up
it got
per the
adjusted.
MOU.
Are you talking about for a salt dome? Are you looking at a similar situation, or are you looking at we just give you the money outright? And
That'd be good if you got it.
Oh, you're breaking up over here. I think.
Yeah. Damn. I'm having a little hearing problem. I mean, because obviously you're going to save some money.
Yeah,
which
well, and we
helps.
have to, right?
Yeah,
'cause
well, exactly.
Our
That-
income is definitely down over the years, and everybody knows. Well, right now is a bad time to talk about fuel, but you know, back when fuel was $1 a gallon, and it's gone up to $4, and salt went from 24 up to I'm paying 55. Everybody else is paying
Right.
125. Our major and asphalt's gone up almost 4 times.
Yeah, it's a
Unless
commodity.
you had a
and-
little patch in your driveway this year, right? And you about choke on the cost, right?
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Try doing roads, yeah.
Yeah, salt's a commodity. If you buy it when it's down, obviously
Right.
it makes more sense, and it helps you, which in turn helps the county out.
Exactly.
The issue is just that I know that one building came in a little higher than we thought it would, and I'm just is the salt storage dome.
No, this is a pretty solid number because first of all, with the office building, we have to hire an architect, and there's a lot of unknowns, and there's just a lot going on. This particular thing, we're civil structural engineers. We design it. It's a fixed thing. You have a foundation, and then the top, we already have a price quote on the top. So there's really no more variables involved. So it's a pretty solid number between 5 and 550 is what I'm told.
Now you have to go out for
It would have to go out for
bids.
Yeah.
But would that be? I mean, these companies, when I read the Farm and Dairy and so on, and see those buildings there, there's a half a dozen people putting up fabric buildings. You limit it to them, and they are the winning bidder. They come in with all their own people. They don't have we don't have to let it to a general contractor who then goes out and picks up a bunch of subs and.
Well, we put it out to bid. If they want to hire subcontractors, they can. But what's going to happen is, generally speaking, the specialty is the truss system, and that company's going to most likely be the general, and they're going to hire a concrete guy to do the foundation. They fab it wherever their factory is. They come in and they bolt it down and tension it up, and it's done.
Well, the other
They'll sub out someone to put a floor in it.
Yeah, the other advantage is you get a year on this new building, don't you?
Get a year.
With the new building, after a year, you don't find a problem with the building, don't
Like
you?
a warranty.
Yeah, like we own it after 12 months. These things are 50 years or 30-year warranties or some huge thing. So
yeah, there's some. I believe it's a 15-year on the fabric. It's very similar to a structure that Howard has over there at Arms. My understanding is it was at a different location for 15 years. He picked it up and moved it, and it still looks great.
Mm-hmm.
People they're talking 50 years out of the top, which in the foundation we know the way it's built is going to last, 100, 150 years.
that's why I'm saying the people that are building it, if they're going to stand behind it for 15 years, they're not going to cut corners. You wouldn't think.
Right. And the nature of what's happening with like our dome is they tend to just rot from the inside out. It's so moist. I mean, you go in there in the summer, it feels like it's going to rain on you. And you see vents all the way around the top. You just can't vent them enough. All that material holds moisture, and the nature of the dome and the heat changes.
Have you been in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
you been
amazing, isn't it? I mean, you drive by them and you see them from the outside, and they go, "Oh, that looks real good." And you walk in there, and there's all this decaying lumber that I think I'll be leaving now.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. This should have been done 2 years ago, and when we had originally brought this up, we would have been able to get salt at $25, and I said it then.
Right.
We're getting the silo for free.
Yeah.
It's a 2-year deal. It takes us 2 years to recoup the money back on the building of what we save on salt.
Right.
I mean,
I completely agree with you with the caveat being that it is a commodity, and if we have a mild winter or two like we had in the past, Cargill and Morton or whoever's digging that out of there, they're going to be dropping their price because they're not selling it. So then it's speculation. And
Well, it always is, but the one given that isn't so much speculation. First of all, I can show you the history and trend, and as I've bought salt, you can see that I'm not gonna nail it every time. Sometimes it's like gambling, but I've nailed it every time so far. And we've saved a lot of money compared to people around us. A lot of money. But the one thing that this allows us to do is you have 12,000 tons of storage. You can buy it in summer. Now, the summer isn't necessarily, who knows, maybe we're paying 55 right now a ton for winter fill. Maybe next summer it's 65. You don't know. But what happened this year was 37. I had room for 2,000 more tons for summer fill-up, so I bought 2,000 tons and I was filled to the doors. It was at 37. Price came out for winter, it's 55. There's $18 a ton this year's example. And last year was much more volatile than this year. So just the fact that you can buy the material in the summer, you save a lot of money. The pressure's not on them. They have till October, so they just kind of send it when they get the trucks. Now these guys are working overtime. That all costs money. They're not backhauling. Jobs don't need aggregates, stone, stuff like that. So what they're doing in the summer is they're hauling both ways. So it's you would know, it's costing them so much less to haul it. So you're saving that money, and that's why a lot of the reason why the summer fill-up's so much cheaper. So when you say it's a commodity, yeah, it's going to fluctuate like crazy. But the history and the trend is if you buy it in the summer, it's cheaper, and it makes sense. Their time on the road's a lot less, too. They're not fighting the traffic and the weather and the bad roads. So when you have that storage, you can fill it up. It's not to say we're not ever going to have buy some material on the winter price, too. But we're going to look at it, we're going to watch the market, and we're going to look at the trends and do our best job.
Joe, let me ask you this. I know that some of the townships are buying salt, too, from us. What if we were to work out some kind of a deal with the townships to possibly take this silo to go to the next size bigger and have them contribute money to us as far as the whole build and design, and then they pretty much can have a warehouse centrally located for them?
That is a benefit for some townships. You get into the bigger ones, the farther ones away, Bainbridge and stuff like that, it's really not worth it because they're driving trucks that only carry 10 tons. And currently right now we're helping out 5 townships, but we can't supply everything they need. So what they're doing is if what we've allocated them isn't enough to get through the winter, they're going and buying it at $125 a ton.
Right.
So yes, we can help them out tremendously. And what I've done is when I looked at this before, and I think you even just threw the number out, it was about 450 when I was thinking about it last year.
That sticks in my head.
And that's true because the building I was looking at building was 85 wide by 180 long.
This one's 2-something, you said.
Right, this is 220. You're getting quite a bit more storage, and in my mind, before the 10,000, I was like, all right, I need 10,000 no matter what, 10,000 tons, because I was counting the other 2 buildings as eventually they're not going to be there. So this would be my only thing. But as I'm looking at it this year, if I could hold more quantity in there, I can buy fill this thing up, make it a little bigger, and fill it up, and I can accommodate the townships. And yet we have enough reserve that if we're having a bad winter, we can just buy some on winter bid, and you're not getting killed.
So
like
how much
this year's
will we
55
get?
Compared to 125.
So this size will give us
12,000 tons.
12,000.
I currently use between 8,000 and 10,000 tons a year.
And the townships?
Well, the ones we're using, the ones we're helping right now, and there was a couple we had to just say we can't because we didn't. You have to get in a state bid, and you have to buy at least 90% of what you get on the bid for, and no more than 1/10. So I can get in trouble on both ends of the spectrum. If at the end of the winter my barn's full and I still have to buy 5,000 tons of material, where am I going to put it? I'm in a contract. I have to buy it. Vice versa, if I don't order enough and the dome's empty and it's still snowing into April and I have no material, then I have to go into another contract and I'm most likely buying it at the market price at 125.
Well, you have to pay for it. You don't have to buy it. You have to pay for it. Your contract obligates you to a certain dollar amount, but you don't have to deliver it at the end of the day.
No, I'm saying if I
the
could-
average cost is going to be higher but at the end of the day, the salt isn't necessarily going to have to be delivered.
Well, I'm saying if I have a bad winter, though, on the converse, I can only buy 110%. So what happens if I buy 110% and I use all that salt up by February,
Right.
and it snows into April? Well, I got to find another supply of salt because I can't buy it off that contract because I'm done. I've hit my top limit. And they know that if that happens, that the prices are through the roof, so they're not going to give it to me at that price. And like right now, this year the market's 125. So
I started doing a little homework last night. And by the way, I'm with Rob. I think this is a really good project. I think a little bit refinement in terms of a thought, and I'm just getting my head around the budget and what makes sense and all that here. So we can use good judgment in this whole thing. Do we have the cash to pay for it and all that kind of stuff? But I did reach out to Chesterland. Apparently, they have a bulk contract.
they did get. I checked it. They got on the state, and they got the $55.
Actually, they're doing 27. I was told.
$27? No, I have it right.
That's what I was told last night by Mike. But I don't know if that's correct, not correct. They invalidated it, but they got a contract regardless, and so they're doing pretty good on it. But I would love to reach out to the townships and explore with them a little bit of a cooperative arrangement to see if we can all benefit. You and I talked about this yesterday.
Right, and one of the things, and to add on to what Ralph was saying, well, and here I have it right here. Chester got 2,300 tons off the state bid at 55 and some odd change. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the 23 or 27 you're thinking of was how much they bought. It was 2,300 tons. But at 55. But yeah, as far as the townships helping, I don't. A lot of the townships don't have capital to outlay, but one of the things that Skip and I were talking about yesterday is no different than like the rental resource program. We bought some very expensive equipment that townships never could afford to buy, like a grade all and stuff like that, and we ran it back to them. So in essence, what we're charging them for is our guys running it so it doesn't get beat up. We put our own fuel in it so we don't have a problem with someone putting some dirty fuel in. We're in a $300,000 piece of equipment. And then what we're doing is only charging them the time they use it. Unlike if you rent something from a rental company and you rent it for a week and you run it for 20 hours, you're charged for the whole week. Well, we're only charging them for what time they use it. So the numbers we figured is they're paying about 60% of what it would cost to rent a piece of equipment. Besides, you can't rent a grade all. It's about impossible. There are just not that many around. I think Southeastern has one for rental. Good luck. In the summer, good luck getting it. So at any rate, so what we've done is we said, all right, we'll say that the grade all has a 10-year lifespan. I'm throwing this out. I forget the numbers we used, but I'm just throwing this out as an example. So when this machine's dead, we want to be able to replace it. So we figure in the hourly rate, how many hours this machine gets per year and over its life cycle, so that at the end of its life cycle, we could buy another one to keep this thing going forever. We did the same thing with the boom mower, and we did with the crack sealer, and then the grade all. And we had such good response. What we did is we opened that up to all of our equipment, and the townships just continue to ask for our stuff. And it's even made us more efficient, because now if we're doing some work down in whatever, one of our roads down in Troy or Parkman or whatever, well, we already have on the schedule, hey, they wanted this for half a day. Well, we're down there. We go work with them for half a day, finish up on ours, and it's made everybody more efficient. So it's worked. But at any rate, kind of where you were getting, Ralph, is we've added a little bit of cost in there so that at the end of its life, we can replace it. And that's no different than we can offer to the townships. Like this year, if they're paying $125, if I said I could sell the salt to you at $65, I'm paying $55, I'll sell it to you for $65. You're still making out $60 a ton.
Everybody wins in that.
So, I think it's something we could definitely work into. I think it'd be difficult to, you always have to have the larger entity has to be the one with the commitment, no different than the way I've done the rental resource program, where we buy the grade all, we take care of it. We have the expertise in maintaining the equipment, they don't, and running it. And it's same here. We go in knowing that there's a loose commitment from the townships that say, yeah, we've always bought our material from you, and we love the fact that you can guarantee the material. See, I don't guarantee that they can get their material from me. I tell them I'll do my best and I can give you this much, but we get a bad winter.
So let me ask you this, Joe. If they, let's just throw a round number, $50, and you're offering it to them at $60, would we be helping the township by saying you don't have to buy salt? We'll supply you the salt. We're going to charge you a $10 fee above what we've got, but the thing is this is we've got also the time and money and our operator loading the trucks.
Exactly.
Our machines loading the trucks and all that stuff. So I'm looking at it as an average township is going to use what, 200, you said 200 tons?
No, we're looking at some of the little guys are using between 500 to 1,000 tons for little guys. Some are a little lower just because they have a lot of gravel roads and you're not putting on the gravel roads.
Okay.
So they're all over. I have a chart back in the office how much they each use and, what quantities they want.
Because I'm looking like, let's say for $10 for every 1,000 tons, that's $10,000 of revenue that we would be able to generate. But then, you take out your costs and stuff.
Right.
But as far as us kind of trying to work with the townships too to try to help everybody out in this, we would be able to afford them the ability that they're on their budget. We would be able to ease their pain a little bit of having to say, hey, we got to buy this, and everybody's struggling dollars and cents wise right now. To say, okay, if we bring that on, we're not killing the townships, but they understand and agree that we're going to take up that bulk of that initial investment. For them, it allows them to be able to operate so that at the end of the day, they don't have to worry about trying to be the guy with the magic ball. You do, So,
exactly. Well, and that's true, right?
And
but
now,
that's my full-time job too.
And the risk comes on us. But at the end of the day, we can either, depending on the winner, we can either prosper or we can lose. But I think that the other thing is we would have to have a position in place where if we've got to get resupplied and resupplied is going to be at $100, then they're going to be paying $110. Exactly. They're going to have to understand that. But that's why I'm saying, like, if at the end of the day, what do you think realistically? Do you think that we would be at 5,000 tons that these townships would potentially be able to use between all of them?
With the townships we have right now, I'd say at least 3,000. But you have to remember too, I've restricted it because I don't have storage.
You don't have unlimited amounts.
I can't speak for them, but I don't think 5,000 is unreasonable.
Let me add. I think this is a great, healthy conversation. By the way, for everybody in the audience, this is how sausage is made, and so this is part of the public process, unfortunately. The interesting thing, and I like where the conversation's at, because a few more questions, and we might be able to make this into a really powerful thing for the county. Mm-hmm. I mean, we could. What is the real value to the county engineer, to the townships, and that is your bulk buying power.
Right.
Okay, and so theoretically, I mean, being in business, sometimes you can drop ship this stuff, and so what the capacity of the townships are, and if they want to come on board from a cooperative agreement standpoint. You could do the agreement part and have the delivery trucks, because you and I talked about this yesterday, centrally locating the salt and then having to move it back out doubles the fuel cost. Right. And so, but you could make an arrangement with the supplier, so they take a semi and they drop ship it a certain amount to the townships. So the township's not full, even though it's under the blanket purchase agreement that we have as a county, and then the remainder is in our larger supply depot. So all in all, with a little bit of refined thought, we could have a pretty well-oiled salt delivery mechanism within the county.
Sure, because we could consolidate the purchases, and I like that idea too. Right. If we did commit X number of dollars or X number of tonnage to their facility, once that's done, then we, they start to get it from us. But we're making $10 on every ton that was delivered on that initial delivery.
And help pay for the building, and
we're going to have a contract with these people.
Yep.
I mean, in other words, the townships, and God love them, they're what make up the county, but they have to have an ironclad commitment to the county that says, okay, if we're buying it at $60 a ton, charging them $70 a ton, and then the price drops to $50 a ton, they have to still buy it from us at $70 a ton. They can't go and
whatever their commitment.
Right. It's kind of like the gas stations when they sell gas and then they tell you, well, I filled the tank at this much, that's why I can't lower the price.
But if you look at the big picture here, if we can make, let's say we could get our tonnage usage to add on a couple of other townships to this program.
I'm sure
we could get them to say, let's say we could get them to 100,000, or not 100,000, but if we can get these guys to 10,000 tons, we're basically going to be able to get us to a point where we could be looking at 100,000. If we're just using the number of 10, which I don't think is unreasonable, we could be looking at $100,000 of revenue generated on this. If we're looking at a $500,000 silo, we're looking at a five-year repayment, but that's not it. We're looking at the reduction in the cost of the salt that we're going to be able to buy because of the size of this. That, to be quite honest with you, this is like a win-win across the board, and we're assisting the townships too.
Well, and if you look at it, the townships, and I know Chesterland's struggling right now taking care of the roads.
Yeah. I like this idea with Skip with that buying of going to and filling their spots.
And that can be even better than what it sounds. This time of year, when you have like this weather, they're done plowing right now. They got guys on the clock. There's not a lot they can do. They could run over to our place and get salt, and, so they can become productive when they're normally not very productive.
Well, you've already demonstrated, at least to me, I've watched you for a while, Kip and I. You're really good at planning.
That was you looking in my window.
You're pretty good at planning. I guess that's why you got the county engineer hat on. And so helping to kind of lay out the plan. Mm-hmm. We talked yesterday about the magic you worked with the wheel and spoke delivery of the salt out and back. And
with their routes.
It was really interesting. Yeah. But, if you laid out a plan, a proposal, this would help to the townships to be able to take some of those dollars that they're throwing into salt, because now they've got to buy it at whatever rate that they can negotiate, and maybe move that over to the roads, which would help them out from a road standpoint. So from the taxpayer perspective, we're being more responsible for the taxpayer dollar, and that helps us justify this $500,000 building.
I would argue too. I mean, as far as justification, what's going to happen if we try to get into all these agreements with townships right now is what's going to happen is it's going to put me in a position where I can't build this building in time for summer fill-up, and then we miss out on another opportunity. Like this year, it would have saved me, these are real numbers, $180,000. Okay? There's 120, we talked to the manufacturers of these, the top part. There's about 120 day flag time from when they have a signed contract.
Any way to tighten that up?
They said when things get slow, they get down to about 90, but nothing's slow right now because everybody after last winter is thinking the way we're thinking. If I could have done this last year, I would have slipped right in line and I would have been good, and it would have been somewhere around 90. So what happens with the government bidding process and advertising and all that, if and I'm not asking you to, but if we said today we're doing it, it would still be July before we had something we could put salt in. I have to commit to my summer fill-up in April. Okay, which if I knew the building was coming, I could do that, but it has to all be delivered by October. So that building has to be up and fillable, and technically they're allowed to start delivering as soon as the contract's signed. So
just pour the concrete, and they can put the girders and stuff up later. Just throw the salt on the concrete.
Well, I got a couple of observations and questions I would like to ask, if I can interject here. First question, something Ralph said early on about it's a no-brainer that we're going to make money and so on and so forth. And then I said, well, yeah, depending on whether the price goes up or down with commodity. The one thing that's a given, we're not going to put money into the old salt dome.
No way.
So for sure, we're going to save whatever we would have to do to make that functional. When she hits the ground, you bulldoze it over to the side. That's the first. Well, okay, I don't know if it's going to burn.
I don't think it will.
And I'm not sure. The second question that I have is, do we have at some point in time an environmental issue as we put in 100 tons of salt and we qualify with somebody for that, but then we put in 200 tons of salt, all of a sudden you got more regulations and red tape that even though we are the government, we're not the big boy, and so that my question is, as the volume of this increases, what is the downside from
there
water
isn't-
runoff and God knows what other.
As long as you load inside and the whole thing's covered,
Okay.
you have your door facing the right way so that weather doesn't get
So
in
it's
and,
not
and
blowing
migrate, and that you don't have the underground drainage pumping into a stream or what have you. There is no downside. We've read through all the EPA regulations. We helped out Hamden too, because Hamden got in such a bind last year. They finally said, "Fine, they're building their own building. They're in the process right now. They have Chip Hess is doing the design for them, and they're going to put one up. Obviously, a lot smaller than ours, but it's just to the point where they saw the numbers. Just I went over there last December and had about a 2-hour meeting with them, and they just came to the conclusion it's a no-brainer. You have to have storage. You have to. So anyhow, we've done all that research.
Okay.
We knew we were going this way, but they're actually a little ahead of us now because the way their funds work, and they just go through the general fund to get it done. So yeah, we've done all that, and there really is no issue that we're concerned about. There's regulations how far you are from a potable water source and all that. We're good on everything.
Okay, because I know the wells are over there, but I don't think the water runs over toward that direction anyway, anything that would be runoff. My last point I want to make, or bring up, I should say, you said it. It's always the big guy that has to come up and front the money. You know, the county has to front the money, or for the township, or what have you. Well, in this case, you have your own budget, and you buy the salt. We don't buy the salt from the general fund.
Right.
So now, what you're asking and what you asked last year, which I was in agreement with, was, okay, we have to front the engineer money that you don't have to build a structure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my question becomes, and it's a serious point with me, and you'll hear me keep saying it, well, the general fund is maybe an agreement that we can, so for round figures, we'll say $500,000. We can front that up front. How do we replenish the general fund with that $500,000 over a period of time? Or, as I said at the very beginning, are you looking for some kind of an arrangement here or a gift? And you kidding?
Yes.
Gift. Yeah, right. No, if I was sitting in that chair, I'd say the same thing. In our chair, or my chair anyway, I'm looking at your new building. We're going to get back 77% of the $1.4 million or whatever that it cost, and okay, 23% is the county kicking into to your project, but you know. We had this conversation at the last meeting where you got a fund of $600,000 somewhere that you have to spend for township projects and so on. All that money's compartmentalized and it becomes very confusing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, at what point in time and at what conditions or does the general fund get replenished some of its money, or is it just out?
Well, I mean, we all know what happened with salt last year and everything, and even this year. Even if we have a normal winter, just because of what they did with the prices, and I got what's comparatively a great price, I'm still a couple $100,000 over budget on salt. That's if we have a normal year, just because of the price spike. And then last year, the prices were down, but the winter was so bad that the usage was up. So, you know, when we talk about that, I've done nothing but cut so that people in this county aren't asked for more. You know,
right. I appreciate that. I think
all I've done is cut.
You've done a great job. It's just that the question becomes, if you're a couple $100,000 over your budget, if we finance the engineers department with what amounts to about $2 million in a 18-month period between your office building and a salt dome, you know, that's more than a couple $100,000 that you're, and your money is your money, and so I'm just saying that, you know, if you're saving these numbers that we're going to see, and you should save it. You know, you're doing all the work, but then there should be a return on the, as you eloquently said, the big guy that has to front the money.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. But my argument would be is there eventually is a shortfall. Did you read my annual report from last year and see how our income's down and our cost has skyrocketed?
Yeah, I saw it at some
If you
point
see-
in time. For me to
eventually-
refer to it out of my
eventually
mind or out of my memory, I'm not going.
Eventually that crashes. And I would prefer to not ask for more taxes.
But that's true at all levels. That happens to us too.
I understand.
Eventually, it's going to crash, and then we're going to have to ask for more money.
Right.
Joe, you're going to see a change though with the reduced fuel costs too, so that changes your curve a bit, I would think. So what? do you think the
You mean
impact
this
that's
year?
gonna
You
be?
mean
Yeah,
with
this
how
year.
the fuel? Yeah, unfortunately, diesel hasn't dropped that much. Yeah, you look at just this time of year, January, February last year, $52,000 last January in fuel for me. When our trucks are out pushing, they're getting 4 miles to the gallon. We all saw diesel.
It hasn't
It's ridiculous.
fluctuated
It
at
should
all.
be less than gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
It's barely refined. It's not though. It's the market playing the game. So I don't. Yeah, it'd be nice. Fuel costs are high. And then you go into my construction, which all relates to everything I do. The asphalt prices have gone way up because the hauling's expensive. I'm hoping to afford some of those cost downturns will reflect across the board. And I'm not saying I'm not offering on the table to somehow repay part or all or some or whatever, but I am concerned. I've made a lot of cuts.
What do you think that the budget to actual is going to be on fuel costs this year with whatever changes have been made in diesel? I'm curious.
Well, what I increased last year, I had 300,000 budgeted for fuel. We spent 319. I'm hoping this year that I can get it back down to 300. I think it will. Depends how much we're out there now. See, the variable isn't just the price. The variable is how often we're out there.
Right. Well, and incrementally, what I heard you just say, and I don't know if I heard you right, that's about a $20,000 delta. So your budget
Right now,
was at 319.
last year it was.
And
yeah.
so if it comes down, then what are you thinking? Maybe the change in diesel fuel cost might provide you. I mean, it's incrementally, not that much.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a dark woods. Yeah, it really is. There's so many variables. I'm hoping I'll be below 300,000 in my fuel this year, but I budgeted for 300.
On the cost per gallon for diesel, I got to admit I haven't paid as close attention as I would if I was in my motorhome. But if gasoline's dropped nearly 50% from the high, I doubt if diesel's dropped $1, which would be 25%. It's probably in the 12% range or something, right?
25 to 30 cents maybe.
Yeah, it's almost a buck more gas right now. Yeah, it does.
And that's controlled too. We all know that. So,
Yeah.
but that's the rules you
And
got
I
to
would
play
hope
by.
that diesel will start rolling down like it did
And-
the gas, but we haven't seen it so far.
You had a decent December
Right.
on the road.
November was tougher than usual, and December was easier.
Right.
And January started.
Yeah, it's not starting well.
So timeline-wise, what do we want to do here, do you think?
I think we need to get this in before his summer load comes in, but we gotta, I do get what Blake is saying, and I agree that there's gotta be, if we could get some assistance with that, we could get some assistance with some of the townships. I think this thing is, it's gotta happen. For one thing, he's gotta have a place to put salt.
Well, he's going to lose the one he's got, so
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. And I think that I know that it's, it is, it's almost like do we fall into some kind of an agreement where we say, base it on like what, I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say, and I know that we're all crunching right now because of all the stuff going on with all the different rise in costs. But I think this has got to we got to figure out how to do this, and we got to get it to the point that he can get his summer load of salt in so that we can do that.
What's the deadline for your salt price?
Well, they changed it. Last year it was April. I don't know when they told us it's last minute last year. It's normally the summer fill-up's April and the winter is June, July. Well, they put them both together last year and really put us in a bind. It was really
And when you order that for, let's say you're going to take the maximum amount allowed, do you have input on the delivery dates? Or do they start, we order it in April and they start bringing it on May 1st?
I do have control on that, but it all has to be there by October.
Okay, so you have a window that would give the decision-making process a week and a half. I think basically, I was in agreement last year when you first brought it to me. I'm in agreement with it. I just look at, you sitting there, and I'm completely sympathetic with your budget. I just wonder if you're sitting there in complete sympathy with the fact of our budget.
Well, I understand.
So Blake, let's bring Dave into this conversation though, because I think that you should kind of have a voice in this too. What is your give us your Reader's Digest version of this conversation?
There's a compelling return on investment to do this, and I would say you could move forward in the process to solicit bids. That doesn't commit us to anything.
We don't have to award.
But don't lose any time on that. Get started on that. Now the Budget Commission will certify the revenues in the general fund, and then you three have some hard decisions to make on prioritizing what we're going to do with our general fund carryover to serve all the needs that we have to deal with. The other thing we look at is our annual debt renewal is in August. So you look at refinancing with an eye toward what else do we have to incorporate in that? Because again, we're talking about some kind of building for the veterans at the very least. We just have to restructure our debt going forward to take all this into account based on the money we have available.
Well, that's a discussion that I would not feel comfortable at all without Heidi being present.
She'd
have to be there with it because she's
absolutely.
But here's the other thing too is and this is where I agree. Eliminating debt is good, but I also understand the concept of having money for very little price.
Right.
This is where my disagreement of paying off the safety center didn't make an agreement because sure. We could all be heroes at the end of the day looking like, hey, look what we paid off. That's all fine and good. But from the day I took this office, I didn't agree with that because we could have had some dollars right now available extra. We're paying $500,000 every year into the 911 radio system. And we want to eliminate that $4 million debt or whatever.
$3 million.
$3 million now.
Yep.
But my thing is this, is that if we turn around and look at this and say, okay, we're going to look at paying $400,000 on that radio system, and that $100,000 that we're going to look at is going to go towards retiring the debt of the silo. In that 5 years, when we retire that debt, we have made our money 5 times over on the savings of that. But at the end of the day, we're still. It's not like Joe's taking that money and putting it into his savings account to bump his value up. It's going to go back to the county's services of improving our roads and everything else. I just think that we really need to move forward strategically to look at where are we, some of those costs that we're putting out and the dollars that we're putting out, we need to do more with a little bit less, and we need to just kind of, we need to regroup on some of those expenditures.
We need to do it on a plan. My only concern as a conservative is you don't want to leave the impression that we got excess cash laying around that people will want to spend.
Right.
No. We need a concise plan that says, no, we got a place for every dollar we're going to
And I think all 3 commissioners agree with that 100%. We're not here to just, footloose and fancy free spending. We just, but it's just, I think that we know, it's just like an investment. We know there's a huge return on this investment, and it's just a situation where it bothers me because we should have been able to have done this 2 years ago when this originally came up, before even Blake was here, to say this, we would have had that silo basically paid for with the savings this year.
Right.
Plus we would have been able to have it bought probably a little bit cheaper 2 years ago too.
So going forward, I think the direction I would suggest.
Yeah, Walter's been wanting to talk.
Yes. Backing up to the township joining forces here, if the costs that you're paying are extended not at $1, but at a percentage above what you're paying for it, and that percentage then is turned back to the general fund,
Exactly.
pay back to there.
I was going to I was started down that path a little bit ago.
Everybody profits by it.
I agree, and the townships compared to what some were paying this year are paying half as much, and that it kind of plays with what Ralph was doing. I started going down that route. Pick a whatever percent or $1, whatever.
You're best off with a percent because it's going to fluctuate.
Exactly.
Or you split the difference between what's retail and what you paid.
Right. Well, right now that would be huge.
Well,
I'm
that's
paying
what I'm saying.
$55
I mean,
and they're at $125.
It's a choice there, but going at a fixed dollar over and above what you pay, I think is redundant.
Right.
I think it's a losing proposition. So what you need to do is either establish a percentage over cost or split the difference between current and retail. And everybody profits. The townships come out ahead too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So
and they don't have a structure
and the
to
general
maintain
fund
and
gets
everything
its money
else.
back.
Right, and you do that as, for every ton of salt that we sell to the township, that percent comes back to the general fund.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
a couple of things I'd like to
that.
see, and I'll just ask you to do this. We talked about the townships. I don't know if the best mechanism to approach the township with a proposal or an idea, a concept, whatever, is to go through the county or to go through your office. I don't know who's got the best connection, but I'd like to see us at least approach them with a concept and say, what do you think?
Well,
see what kind of buy-in.
And yes, that would need to be done. I'll reiterate that the county needs this for the county, period. This is needed.
I understand.
The township thing just makes it so much better and even adds
A bigger sell.
a stream of revenue, but also it gives, it adds to the benefit to the people of the county that live on township roads now too. So it makes sense. It's a no-brainer for me alone. Adding the townships in it makes it so much even better.
Well, it softens the criticism that we might get from other areas around the county that we're not the big bully county doing this and the heck with you guys.
Right, I mean,
we're doing this
together.
and we're inclusive.
It could sweeten the project or
Right.
change the project slightly, because if we're doing a cooperative arrangement, as Ralph said, it might actually change the design slightly.
Right.
So
Well,
if there's a quick way to go out and reach out to the townships, just to float the concept,
There is, and we do.
then at least we know that we can move forward on that as we're getting bids, which might,
Right.
and so on and so forth. The other thing,
Before we award.
the other point I want to make here, at least, and maybe my thinking is skewed here. For me, this isn't as much as a cost savings thing as a cost avoidance thing, because right now you're getting the discount, and so you just need more for class.
No, I'm not getting the discount. I'm
You
paying
got it for
$55. If I bought it in the summer, it was $37. Yes,
so
everybody
you're
else was paying
you've got it-
$125,
you've got
but
it-
I could have saved another
Okay,
$18.
you got
a
a
ton.
little bit of a delta there. But,
Yes. Well, it's
but
a huge delta. It could have been bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with you. It is. It's a cost avoidance.
It's
We're
a
not
co-
making money.
That's right. And there's also some maintenance things here that's still I'm trying to get my head around, because that fabric on the top of that dome, you just said that's a 15-year.
I believe it's a
lifespan.
15-year guarantee completely,
okay.
but they're seeing 50-year lives out of
Well,
these things.
I'd like to explore that a little bit. There's a
Oh, yeah.
few more
I can show you the
nuts and details
manufacturer
I'd like
stuff.
to understand better, so that it's all out on the table. But I think it's a good project. We ought to move forward if everybody's in agreement. Get the bid process started and put a timeline together and
The other,
all that. So.
and maybe this is the wrong time to do this, but the other thing is I had a discussion with Dave, Joe Cattell, with the gas pumps with Water Resources.
Oh.
You know, the Water Resources
Right.
is going to need to put gas pumps in over there. We need to pretty much put the stop to that, because we need to create a fueling point for everybody. We need to have one centralized fueling point for the engineer, for Water Resources, for public transit, for everybody that's involved. The Department of Aging can do it. Everybody gets their gas boy card or whatever they're going to have as far as a computerized card to associate it, and we bill each department or however we're going to figure that out. But I think we need to take, and same thing, there's no sense in having everybody have their own gas station when we could have one centralized gas location, and now we can go to bat again to get the discount on the fuel, to be able to have one central location that all of our agencies can fuel at.
Are most of our fueling facilities above ground?
Everyone I know of.
Yes.
Everyone is above ground.
Yeah.
And if they're above ground, we don't have to deal with the buster requirements and so on, right?
Yeah, there's different requirements, but I mean, now they're like a foot thick of concrete, and they could take a hit from a plane and
Yeah,
everything.
ballistic
talk to
missile.
Water
But I thought when
let
you
them
put-
take the lead because they have the
Yep.
money to do this. Just have them sizing
Exactly.
up and then their pricing structure. They get
yeah,
their
they
money
got to
back.
put it in the ground. It's there's
Oh,
the initial expense.
Yeah, you don't put it in the ground.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to have one facility
Right.
to fuel everybody, it's going to be a lot of above the ground tanks. You know, I mean, it's going to be
Or
50,000 gallons or something. I don't
A
know.
little bit more on.
Well,
They'll
yeah,
just,
just
yeah, I
fill
was
them
going
up.
to say we can just associate that with just getting a contract with whoever would
A
be
fuel
the best
supplier to keep it
Yeah,
to
keep
come
it-
weekly or do something
Yeah,
that's I don't disagree with that. My objection, because I went through it, was inheriting issues that were from decades ago with underground tanks,
which I don't
And,
think we have to deal with.
No.
cleaning them up and paying the
Yes.
the insurance.
Right,
and-
that's a loser all the way around.
yeah, it was like holy smokes.
Because Mike, who are you using for fuel right now?
Melzer's.
So you're bringing it to your location.
Diesel.
Contracts with Melzer's. and
He's
our
got
underground
diesel, but
tank.
he's going to gasoline.
But his tanks aren't gas ready, right?
No,
You would
we
have to have
one-
a location.
We have one diesel tank.
He only
He
has
buys
2
no,
gas
he's
pumps.
buying as he buys in bulk.
Okay.
He's buying gas pumps.
But now you look at like
He wanted
They're
to
cheaper
go
to
with
buy.
gas
But if
because-
he starts transitioning,
Well,
he's gonna need more
exactly.
gas.
Yeah. And if you're going to build a fuel facility, and you're going to fill
Diesel
cars,
Right.
as well as everything else, yeah, you're going to have to provide both.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, and you just look at like Metzenbaum did this a couple years ago. You're probably familiar with that, right, Dave? Great system, and it works for them great.
and their fleet is gasoline, but they have a
Diesel
Don't they
also.
partner with the West Geauga and all the buses
yeah,
and so
yeah,
on?
it's a
I
combined transportation.
imagine most of those are probably
Exactly, and
diesel.
that made a lot of sense for them. It really did. And they're above ground, with big concrete
You know,
structure.
the other thing too is we would relieve a little bit of pressure on some of these, like Burton Lumber,
Oh.
to be able to
You ever
give
see
them
what
a
my plow
little
trucks
bit
are
more customer service to their customers too, like that. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that they would be able to profit more selling to the consumer than they are probably to us, and we're taking up a lot of their
Well,
time.
they could bid on the bulk contract.
Right, exactly. That's what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
not like they're gonna, they still have an opportunity to have the business. It's just now it frees them up a little bit too of having a, gooseneck of all these trucks that line up and people are going somewhere else.
We're kind of digressing from the initial issue, which is your salt storage bin. This is an issue that goes
Right.
along with it.
Right.
But what I'm hearing, I mean, obviously you've talked to these two gentlemen recently. You haven't talked to me for quite some time.
He
But
likes us more.
well, you probably bought him coffee. I'm not as I'm more conservative. Let's buy his own coffee. Anyway,
No, he didn't buy me coffee, Blake. So we're
He didn't?
okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He didn't buy me either. So
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we'll clear that up with the Board of Elections. What I'm hearing here is you're kind of getting a green light
Start moving.
to go ahead on the preliminary to get this underway.
Yeah.
I would love to see, as Skip wanted to see something with the townships. I would love to see a couple of different financial scenarios. If we buy this much salt, and obviously we're going to end up having to throw arbitrary prices in. And from history, not going forward, we paid $55 a ton, or it was cost $130 a ton. If we and some idea along the line that you said with the townships, like your rental equipment thing, which I makes great sense. And I was at a couple of presentations that Andy did, and
You told me yesterday that was secret.
That's not. No.
We're in the county now, nothing's secret.
Yeah, it's all government.
That
there shows, Blake, what we could have realized in the last 2 years. Were absolutely, completely real numbers right here, had we had the storage capacity. And anything else you do is just, speculation. But those are real numbers from the last 2 years.
From the last
$516,000. 2 years. And there's a couple
if I
examples.
read this, just being difficult. Right? If you could have saved $516,000, and you were only 19,000 over your budget, you could.
That's only fuel. I was talking fuel when I said that.
Oh, this is fuel.
No.
That was the fuel. That was the fuel, right? Okay. Because I was going to say, well, you could pay for this year.
Well, one of the things I've done too, if you want to go down that route, is I haven't bought a plow truck in a few years, and that's not a good thing.
No, I know you're starting to get long in the tooth.
Oh
over
yeah,
there.
and they're $160,000 a truck. So
right.
you can play that game so long, and then
Catches up.
We're all in the same boat.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
We're all trying to take $1 and get $1.60 from it, and whether that's the county general fund or you or the prosecutor's office or any of the people that are here, You've seen this?
Yes, just a thought. Since the counties are going to be financial beneficiaries of this, shouldn't they also be financial stakeholders in it?
No, you mean
Townships.
Townships, Townships. Since they're going to be financial beneficiaries, shouldn't they also be financial stakeholders?
Well, I think they would be in the essence that maybe they would pay a certain price or percent per ton, but that would be a question for the prosecutor if they're even able to use their resources to build a county facility. I don't even think that would be legal, but I can't speak to that. And the building would be owned by the county commissioners anyhow, and who has the maintenance. And that's why I liken it to the rental resource program. I bought the equipment. I had need for it, but not 100% need for it. They have need for it, and they can't afford to buy that equipment, nor do they have the expertise in maintaining that type of equipment. So when you start looking at it that way, they do realize a benefit, which is great, because eventually that gets, taxes that are saved, tax money that's saved. And then they're paying it back by paying a little higher price on salt than what we pay for it, but yet a lot less than what they're paying for it right now. So, yeah, I don't think they could just write a check, and if they could do that, they'd build their own. And they'd have it right there. And it costs a lot more to build a bunch of little ones all over the place than it does one big building.
Absolutely.
If I understand Tom's question about the townships being financial stakeholders in a project like this, at first blush, my answer would be if they agree to sign a contract with the engineer, the county, to participate in this for, as Ralph said, maybe a 10-year period of time, because they don't have the cash on hand to fork it out, but they agreed to participate in the program for a period of time. That makes them a financial stakeholder.
Exactly, and that, yeah.
But for the salt, not for the building itself.
Right.
No, for the commodity, for the salt. Right. Yeah, we can't necessarily.
Which in turn helps pay for
whatever they're going to do. They're going to have a savings
right.
that they get to spend the money how they want to do.
Right.
But we, in turn,
Hey, Dave.
make some money.
But what is the option also that we can finance this deal over, say, 5 years?
Well, I mean, our debt turns over the existing. You could issue debt at any time, But our existing note repayment schedule always turns over in August, so you could simply do the equivalent of refinancing where you go out and you issue a larger amount of notes.
But I'm saying, like, through this, let's say the bid comes in, could we potentially finance this?
Well, initially, yeah. I mean, we could find the resources to finance.
Because then, at that point, I mean, we're really ahead of the game as far as not, that might even be the real ticket there is if we do if it's a 5-year refi and we able to have the townships contributing at the end, it may not cost us virtually anything.
Well, I mean, ideally, out of the budget, the budget decisions you folks have to make in a couple of weeks. You could find the cash through this, but it would mean cutting.
I need clarification.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, are we financing it out of the general fund, or is he speaking that we're financing it going somewhere and getting money from somebody, and then we pay?
We could do it either way, but we
benefit
more by doing it internally.
What's that?
We benefit.
We make more money doing it internally.
But we may not have less, but then we don't have access to those dollars. So that's
right.
what I'm saying is, if we, what really is the price of money going to be for us? If we could go and get money at a very reduced rate, we don't affect our dollars that we have in house. And at the end of the day, if we do this correctly, and we have we have a joint organization with everybody on board, we're going to be able to say, okay, here's the deal. It's going to cost us $50,000 more at the end of the day for a 5-year term. But the reality is we never touched the dollars that we had in place. Everybody came together to do this. And he wins, the townships win, we win. We never touched what we had, and we basically know that that's what we need to do to finance. No different than what we're looking at as far as our build-out.
Well, I mean, I think we just want to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
You don't want to do a bunch of small loans. You
Sure.
want to have a plan and do one
Sure.
financing package.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's some of what I asked for, different scenarios that we could sit down and right now each of us has our own idea of things, but they're certainly not in my head, and I'm not in their head or your head on what we hear. That's why I wanted to clarify when you say we finance it. Well, historically, the general fund finances things with people. Okay, now going outside the general fund to the market and taking a loan, technically our name's going to be on the bottom of it, so we're still financing it, but we're using someone else's money and paying them the return rather than keeping the return or saving the return ourselves. Those are the different scenarios that I need to look at on paper because my head's already full of stuff here. But I would say that what the board is saying is go ahead and advertise for some pricing on this. But now this building that you're talking about was 220 long. You said, what was the width? 85? 85 wide, 220 long. At some point in time, this is a question I don't have an answer to. It seems to me that the warranty on a canvas top that big, the biggest, I can see two issues with that. One is tree limbs and debris coming through the tent and ripping it. Or two, we get a January 4th, 1969 storm that comes through here and even takes the roof off your building, let alone that. A tornado's coming through. Well, so I'm assuming you have insurance for that. Is there any advantage, let's say, to building two smaller buildings that have the same capacity, but then if you have a failure, you're not. Hopefully, a tornado might take them both down. But if there was some other disaster, and it might even be less expensive because as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, the cost goes up.
Right. Now, what we looked at is, the two smaller ones would be a lot more expensive. Two things you have to look at. You can't load all the way out to the front. So you lose the front end because of your pay regs, and you have to be able to get a truck in there to load inside.
Okay.
So you lose the front end. Well, if you have two, that means you're losing twice as much real estate. You probably know with trusses, the wider you go, the more expensive them trusses go exponentially. Mm-hmm. We found that the ones at 85 feet are pretty economical. There's some other ones out there that are a lot wider, and your price per ton of what you can store goes up drastically. We've looked at all those scenarios, and what 85 allows us to do is it gives us a configuration inside where we can leave a loader inside, pull a truck in, and still maximize the capacity inside. And that's why we've made it 220 long.
So
which
you'd
one
make
would
it
consider
longer.
that.
You'd make it longer.
That's why
if you
we
wanted to make it a little bigger.
Exactly. We would not, if we wanted this bigger, we would not go, the 85 would stay. That would not move.
That's
We
the
just keep
optimum.
getting longer. And that's what we say, last year we were talking about 180 by 85.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we need more capacity. And we ran everything, and it was absolutely no brainer. You just go longer. You know. And
How high are the sidewalls? 6 feet, 8 feet?
12.
12 feet.
12 feet. Reinforced concrete.
So that
It's a
allows you to
massive
stack it
footer.
how high on the sides? Probably
11.
Okay.
Yeah. You can go 11 feet on them sides, and roughly your angle of repose is about 23 degrees. So
They have flying buttress bolsters or something on the outside of those walls?
no, they don't need them. I can show you the
How
design.
thick is the wall? 12 inches or 18? It's going to have
It's
a
a tough-
lot of weight pushing it.
it's a
Never
tough
mind.
number. It's
Never
17.
mind. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. I'll hand it to you, and you can have it, and you can take it
So
home and
just
study
to
it.
summarize, I mean, we feel comfortable, Joe. I think that the board all pretty much agrees that we're going to just have you try to move forward here to get the bids.
I appreciate
And,
that. Yeah,
And then the fine details, we'll work on those and come up with the best options, and then be able to just get this put on the table to move forward. So
appreciate it.
17 and a half inches.
That's why I said 17, but it's
Right,
really
yeah,
odd.
so 1 foot 5 and a half.
Yeah. All I can figure is this was something designed in Europe, and it was metric, and the conversion
Oh,
comes over.
the heck with it. We're not
Oh,
doing it.
yeah,
Design in Europe.
yeah.
We don't want it. Design in America.
We'll make it 18. Does that matter? Yeah, some of the numbers.
Any other questions or anybody?
I have a comment. I had a citizen come in just before the meeting,
Okay.
and I wanted to raise it up. I don't want to put anybody on the spot with this, but I want to make you guys aware of the fact that one of our county employees blocked a handicap spot at McDonald's, and a citizen was very upset about that. And so I'm going to deal with him. I'm going to reach out to the department. He has a picture of the truck, the license plate. We know who was involved. And so I'm going to reach out and deal with that. But just so you guys are aware of that in case you've heard anything about that. In addition to that, we don't need to start this conversation now because we've gone way over. Well, possibly. But we have a number of board members that are coming due to be named and so forth. This is probably a good time to start a conversation about some standards, some personnel approaches and so forth when we're going into the selection process for board members. I know that in my case, I'm going to start asking for resumes of people. I don't want to appoint anybody to a board, especially when we run into situations with the mental health board. We have issues there where we know who we're appointing. And,
Well, and I think that, to be quite honest with you, I think that there's, I actually had an opportunity last night to talk to one of the mental health board members, where I was at that meeting, you were at that meeting with this whole survey that they put out to the high schools, and they were supposed to have a special meeting that, if you recall, they even asked us to possibly give them a facility because of the amount of public outcry there would probably be at that meeting. And at this point in time, there is nothing scheduled on that meeting. And what I think is happening is I think that you've got a situation where the board is requesting things be done and adhered to, and it's basically a situation where I feel like it's falling on deaf ears. Have you gotten our public information request?
Not.
So it's a situation where we've got someone that's running that show that really, I feel, could really care less what anybody is saying, including the board. And it's starting to really frustrate me, and I think that it's going to have to come to a point where the board members that the commissioners are responsible for, and I will wait for an official interpretation once I put it to the prosecutor's office. It states in the ORC that we can call for the removal. We have the authority to appoint those board members. We also have the ability to remove those board members based on negligence. And I think that there's some accountability that needs to be held to the director of mental health. If they're requesting stuff for him, when our county administrator is requesting public information requests from them, and we're not receiving it, we were told on record that there was going to be a meeting within the first week or two of January, and that hasn't happened. I think that it's time for us to really look at the board representation that we have as commissioners, that we have, I believe, 8 board members on there. And I know for a fact that 2 are very disgusted with what's happening, and 2 happen to, the 2 that are very much on board with this happen to be put on by myself and Commissioner Rear. And I don't like what's happening. And I think that we need to remain transparent. And I think that at the end of the day, that board, there's no point of having a board if a board is not being adhered to. That's the bottom line. And I think that really we need to look at this.
Well, and I agree with you, and that's the reason I brought up the topic of having a standard for how we choose board members. What is our standard? What is our approach? What are we going to require? Because at the end of the day, at least in my experience, board members are responsible for overseeing the organization that they have something to do with. Jim Adams works for the board.
Right.
And so it's the board's responsibility. It's their fiduciary responsibility, and they have a public responsibility to ensure that certain things are done. And I want to make sure that the boards that we appoint people to, we're appointing people who understand their responsibility and they will follow through with that responsibility. But even aside from the board members, we have an employee situation. So we've been asked to shift some employees around and so forth. What is our approach so that the public has confidence that we're not just picking our favorite person for a seat? That we have a process that is above board and transparent and so on and so forth, so that all appearances of favoritism or whatever you might want to call it are nullified by the fact that we have a standard and we have a policy and we have a practice that we put into place. And so I'm just bringing that up to say that we can have that conversation and talk about what we might want to do there. And I have some ideas that I'm probably going to draft and throw out to you guys. So
when this happened before, I did bring it up to the prosecutor's office, and I thought I had it in my little folder here. I must have removed it. That they gave me a template, if you will, on research or whatever they'd done as far as applications and requirements and so on for board appointees and the process. So I don't know that we need to reinvent the wheel. We got to find it and then look at it and see, because there was a document and it went by the wayside. We never discussed it as a board, but I know I've seen it.
Well, I just received an email with 4, I think it was 4 names on it.
Right.
To appoint a board member
For the law library.
For the law library. Their names. Outside of one person, I don't know these people. And so I don't want to appoint people I don't know. And so I need to get to know them. Should we interview them? And some boards, like the mental health board, I would say we need to interview the board members as a group and treat them like employees before we place them. With other organizations, perhaps, like the law library, it's not as, I don't want to say it's not as important, but the board members are not as material as with these large organizations like the mental health board. I don't know what the right answer to that is. Maybe we don't interview them, we just get resumes. But there should be a standard and an approach in which we know who we're appointing, we know the responsibilities of that person, and we're doing our jobs in terms of ensuring we get the best people that we can get in those seats.
I would think a job description for the very, because if you're a board member on here or you're a board member on there, your example of the law library versus mental health, the qualifications or interest or something may, being a board member is being a board member, but they must have some definite qualifications to do one job or the other.
I think the interview process is necessary because at the end of the day, I don't want to put somebody on the board that doesn't see my values. And I'm not saying that I want to have, if you don't see it my way, then hit the street. But I think that at the end of the day, we're in a position where, I know I campaign based on my values, and I haven't, came off of that trail. This is what I believe in. If you like what you see, then vote for me, and that's what people, I hope, voted for me for. So I haven't changed my position on that. So my whole thing is if that's what people voted for me for, I would want people on that board that are like-minded thinking to say, we don't agree with this, or we do agree with this, or we need to go in this direction or that direction. And I think that at the end of the day, that's obviously, we know that we're not going to agree on everything, but if we can agree to, to say this guy gets 1 vote, this guy gets 3 votes, well, this guy probably is going to be the guy. But no different than when we did a, battery of interviews for the Department of Jobs and Family Services, that we came up to a scoring method to say who did we feel was the most favorable. But I want to be able to say, I don't want to put somebody on just by a name that says, this guy sounds like he's good, this lady sounds like she's good, just based on looking at a resume. Because, at the end of the day, you could look great on paper, and you could be, the most difficult person to ever, work somewhere. And it just, I think that experience is big. I think that just personal experience, education. There's a lot of things that go into it, but I think that at the end of the day, in fairness to Blake and you and me, and I think we should be able to actually talk to some of these people too.
Yep. And I think we got to do a review of what we currently got over there.
Yeah.
I like where we're going with the mental health board.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So with that, I guess so we know that we're going to do that. Let's we'll maybe for the next meeting, Dave, we could put together maybe some kind of another small bit of conversation as far as what we will, maybe a procedure. Blake, if he finds some of that information, and then we'll
try to find that paper.
Try to put something together for the next meeting.
I mean, we have a current process of a board application document that's filled out. And you can review that. We'll send that all to you again.
Okay.
Well, and I had a conversation with Jim Flays yesterday on this topic. Okay. And it was because of the law library. He's associated with the law library. And so he threw out a number of ideas that I hadn't even thought about. What I can do is draft a starting point conversation, and we'll just put that on the table and see if you like it, don't like it.
Did you ask him if he had a copy of something?
I did not ask him if he had any standard, no. But, I mean, there's all kinds of, this is not...
Yeah, we're not reinventing the wheel.
This is rocket science.
Yeah.
There's standards out there that exist. We can pull that stuff off the shelf, tweak it to our own liking, and then move forward. We don't need to make this a big deal.
Okay. So let's move forward then with the acknowledgments. We've got a weekly report filed by the dog warden of all dogs seized, impounded, redeemed, or destroyed for the weekend ending December 24th, 2014, as required by Ohio Revised Code 955.12. B, there's a resolution of appreciation presented by Chester Township Board of Trustees to John Rogers, Road Department worker for 29 years of service. Meetings will have a meeting on the 8th. The commissioners will hold a regular session. On the 9th and the 11th, some of the commissioners will attend the Fair Managers Conference in Columbus. On the 12th, the commissioners will hold a reorganizational meeting, and that's going to be at 10 o'clock. And then on the 13th, we're going to have a regular scheduled commissioners meeting that we're going to cancel due to that being on Monday. We're canceling the Tuesday morning meeting. And then on the 19th, we've got county offices will be closed for general business due to Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. 24-hour operations will still continue to operate as usual. So with that, sorry for the long meeting this morning, but I think we got some good conversation in. And if we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay.
So